All right, this is D here at C2E2, Chicago. I have an interesting interview for y'all today. I will let him introduce himself, and then we'll begin.
Hello, I'm Gygo Anderson. I am the publisher of Gygo Enterprises, the creator of its flagship title, The Horseman, and also curator of the 4 pages, 16 bars, a visual mixtape anthology series project.
Yeah, see, I couldn't remember all that. I tried, and I screwed it up, and like the second sentence. So here we have a collection of comics, and he has a website that's going to be popping off too soon. So we have the Horseman here, and he's going to tell you a little bit about the Horseman and the mythology behind it. This is an excellent version, just world building at its best.
Thank you.
So tell us where you got the inspiration for the Horseman.
Well, the inspiration from the Horseman comes from the fact that I've always been a fan of mythology. I became a fan of mythology at 8 years old. You know, the original Clash of the Titans got me interested into the whole notion of gods and goddesses. So I started out, of course, reading the Greek mythologies, reading Bullfinch's mythology, you know, the Odyssey at 9. I was that kind of kid. And as I went on, you know, learning more about the Norse myths from the beginning, that sort of thing, at a certain point when I became a teenager, I started exploring the mythologies from the African continent, being that I am West African on my mother's side, that sort of thing. So mythology has always been sort of a wellspring for me for creation. And so by the time when I decided to officially throw my hat into the ring of this wild West that we call comics, and wanted to start my company and start my label, I infused my love of mythology, my love of my African culture and Pan-African cultures, so on and so forth, and they all combined to become what is known as the world of the Horseman.
So now yesterday when we heard you describing this, you said it's very unapologetic in the way that it puts its characters out there. Can you go a little more in depth on that?
Okay, so what I mean by unapologetic is that when I did the Horseman, or as I'm doing the Horseman, I'm not coming from a place of struggle, per se. In terms of, I'm not coming from like, oh, you know, we're missing this, we're missing that sort of thing. I'm not coming from a place of, I want to make a book where, you know, we're accepted and that the other accepts us. No, the world of the Horseman is what it is. And when I say that it's unapologetic, I say that it's unapologetic because of my viewpoint as a world citizen, my viewpoint as what I like to call a bicultural African, being again that my mother's West African, my father's from the States. So I come with that mindset. And I grew up in a household of Black excellence. And so in the world of the Horseman, that's what I reflect. It's unapologetic. It's not a situation of, it's not a revenge fantasy. It's not even a power fantasy per se. The Horseman is a story about Black power and what happens when people have the power of gods, and how do they use that in order to change the world that they live in.
So in a way, this is just people are who they are. This is the guy next door, the kid you see down the street. What happens if they were imbued with godlike powers? And I also, like, I was a teenager in the library looking at mythology so I could write my own. And I like the Aesirs, just love the world tree, Odin sacrificing his eye, like all that kind of stuff. Loki killing Balder, being a dick about it.
Right.
Like, I have a god, like the god Gun, so even African gods, the god of metal, like I love all that kind of stuff. So like this hits home on so many notes for me.
Yeah, and it also hits home because these are our faith systems. This is our mythology. The gods and goddesses, the Orishas of the Yoruba from Nigeria, they survived. Our gods survived the slave trade. They survived going to Brazil. They survived going to Cuba. They survived going to Puerto Rico, so on and so forth. And they combined with the religion that was forced upon us, Christianity, to become the religions like Santeria, Candomblé, Vodou, that sort of thing. So with the Horseman, what I'm doing is I'm also reclaiming our faith systems and recontextualizing them in a modern way, much like Jack Kirby did with Norse mythology and with Thor and the Asgardians back in the 60s. I did that with our gods and goddesses in the late 90s, early 2000s. So actually 2022, next year that will be the 20th anniversary of the Horseman. So we've been around for a minute.
Yeah.
So now, if you had to give a 30-second elevator pitch on the Horseman, how would you describe it?
The Horseman is the story of the gods of Africa returning to Earth and possessing 7 people to save humanity from itself.
Boom.
Wow. He didn't even get one floor on the elevator. That was the way to do it.
And for the layman, just think of Christmas. What would happen if all the Germans decided, let's go back to being heathens, going out in the woods drinking a lot? Because really, that's what Christmas is. Read a book.
All right. Anything else you'd like to ask him, Dan?
I think that sums. I mean, so what do you have coming? Because you mentioned you have a website and everything. So what do you have coming up that people can?
I heard something about an NFT.
Well, actually, The Horseman Manifest Destiny is the latest book in the series. 66 pages, 3 different stories, continuing to chronicle the Horseman universe from the past, present, and the future. In addition, we are going to do our first NFT drop, which is going to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Horseman and Rio Enterprises. And you can learn more about that at our website, nft.rioenterprises. That's GRIOT Enterprises, all one word, all lowercase.
Look for the links below, guys.
Yes.
Indeed.
Or just hit up the home site, rioenterprises.com, to learn more about not only the Horseman, but also our other projects, including 4 pages, 16 bars, a visual mixtape, which is an anthology series, the longest running anthology series, focusing on creators of color.
Absolutely incredible. We want to thank you so much for your time, man, and your hard work shows in all the artwork here. The way you explain your work is something like I've never seen before. So I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us for Get Your Geek On.
Thank you so much for that.
So Danny, for Get Your Geek On, we're signing off with this interview. What do you think?
I think it's amazing. I have this book here, Manifest Destiny. Started reading it. It actually explains while it tells you the story. You don't just get dumped in and have no clue what's going on. Why is he wearing that? What's the dude over there doing? What's his name? How come she's upset? You will know. Like you said, it's not just unapologetic, but it's highly informative. It is excellent. It's an excellent read, not just the visual of it, but the reading of it, the story behind it. It's hard to find both of those put together. We've seen great artists with crap storylines. Anybody who reads Marvel and DC nowadays, you know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about. The struggle's real. This brings it all home.
All right, guys, for Get Your Geek On, we're signing off. Check out all the links below to check out Manifest Destiny and everything to do with the Horseman. We want to thank you so much for your time, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. And